So there's various forms of media.
Yes.
What part of the media is your company focusing on, and exactly why do you see value in that?
It's a great question, and I think it's always shifting. So anytime I'm asked this question, even 3 months from now, it'll be completely different because the landscape is changing so much. So right now we're doing a lot with audio and podcasting, with live video, actually a lot with theatrical, because I have noticed that that's one of the remaining areas that people will pay is kind of that experiential content. So those are a lot of the areas that I'm playing in right now. Of course, I love the written medium, but it's really interesting to see how much the landscape is changing.
I mean, it's actually amazing that podcast, right? It's kind of the thing that everyone's talking about. What about short-term video, or these shorter videos that you look at Snapchat or Instagram and things like that?
Yes, I think I love short-form videos, but I think what's so interesting to me is the rise of long-form. Because 2 years ago, if I got up on stage at a conference like the Nordic Business Forum, I would have advised everyone to make their content shorter. But today, I actually would get up on stage and tell people to go in depth and longer. I think there's more of an appetite for that, really kind of distilling and diving deeper into things. On Broadway right now, of the 40 shows, 3 of them are 7 hours long. So,
That's longer than a surveillance program.
Right. I mean, it's amazing. But I think it really is a microcosm that speaks to the appetite of people for deeper content.
So there are so many media companies in the world. Are you expecting some kind of huge wave of consolidation at some point?
I think there has to be, because it seems like there's 10 new media companies cropping up every day around very niche topics. And it's smart to do that because those are the kind of things where you can have a subscription model, where you can have a clientele that's willing to pay. But at the end of the day, it has to consolidate. We just can't support an ad-driven marketing model for thousands of different little tiny media companies, all with very similar value propositions. So I think it will be very interesting to see where the media is going. Are people interested in beautifully produced content like a Netflix is doing? Do they want more of that kind of fast, quick, user-generated content? It seems to be shifting back and forth right now.
The thing is that there's so much content, right? Netflix, Apple, Facebook, where does it end?
I think every single day, it's like 100 million hours of video gets uploaded just to YouTube. And that's one channel in one day. Every day, there's over 1 billion posts on Facebook. So you're right. Who is out there listening to your content if everyone else is just constantly making their own content?
So is it going to go down? Is it going to be oversaturated? In 5-10 years, what kind of content are we going to be looking at?
I think there's almost going to be a layer of kind of curation, like in museums. I think with so much content over there, it's just exhaustion. And so people are now looking for experts to tell them what to watch. I think the pendulum's almost shifting back again to the bigger need for expert voices in news, in different areas, because people are now bombarded by so much that they kind of want to be guided a little, like you would curate a collection at a museum. But I also think that people they want more high quality content again. So it's interesting because when I was first starting in social media, it was all about how many eyeballs you could get on things. And now I think the metrics are really shifting back to kind of engagement and depth.
But are the next 3 years going to be critical on who survives and who gets it and who doesn't?
Absolutely. It's going to be very critical, and companies are going to have to make sure that they're playing in all of the new spaces. That's why we're talking about audio so much at Zuckerberg Media, because I think that is one of the only spaces at the moment where there are more people listening to podcasts than there are podcasts that are regularly updated. There was a brief window around blogging like this about 20 years ago. That window is gone. I would not suggest to anyone today to launch a new blog. The world doesn't need it. It's impossible to get noticed. But podcasting and audio is still in that really beautiful window right now. And so I think the media companies that are nimble enough to see those opportunities and get in will survive.
As we look at the 2020 presidential election in the States, how should media companies look at this election differently? It's interesting because it's so fragmented. I mean, you see there's so many candidates, there's so many people that are thinking, that have passions around different issues and different topics. I think, it's gone are the days when you had a few sources that were the go-to places to turn for an election. So I think media companies, they have to almost think of themselves as 20 or 30 tiny little media companies, or arm their employees to be individual media companies in order to be reaching the most people that they can. But it's an excitingly creative and stressful time to be working inside a media company, for sure.
And Randi, you've done so much work on gender diversity and female in the workplace. What's tougher, being a woman in charge in tech or a woman in charge in Hollywood Broadway?
Oh gosh, wow, that's really the question of the time. I used to joke that being in Silicon Valley, that my biggest asset was having a man's name, Randi, because I would email people and they wouldn't know that they were emailing with a woman, so I was able to really get ahead. I think things are definitely changing for the better. There's a lot more discussion stemming at least from the Me Too movement, and I am at least seeing now in Silicon Valley the rise of many more female investors. I think once women start to control more of the money, then they are going to use that to turn around and invest in other women and change the system a little. So that's what I'm interested in, but there's still quite a long way to go, especially, I sit here talking to you, I'm just 3 months after having a baby, and I've been back at work for quite a while, and then I sit in a city like Helsinki hearing about 9 months of maternity leave and things, and I realize we have quite a long way to go still in the world.